Hello, regenerative farming community and advocates. It's an honor to be here with you today. I get to talk a little bit about natural farming, or Korean natural farming, as we call it in the US, or KNF. My name's Chris Trump. I grew up farming on the Big Island of Hawaii, where my family still farms 750 acres of organic macadamia nuts. My journey in managing that with my father and finding a better way to grow organically led me down this path of learning all wonderful things about the science of soil and this beautiful symphony that is in nature. One of my teachers was Dr. Elaine Ingham. So much gratitude for her training in microscopy and the concepts of fungal to bacterial ratio. It was vital for our farm and the decisions we were making right at the time I was learning that. I think that was back in 2010 or 9. What a gift. Thank you, Dr. Elaine. I had another great teacher who we call Master Cho. He's a Korean man that has taken generations of good science and traditional practices in both Japan and South Korea and honed it into a very elegant method. I don't believe there's any one part or corner of this regenerative community that is the only way. Really, we're just all looking at nature and trying to get some guidance. But Korean natural farming is an elegant method for tending the microbial life of the soil, for growing crops. And so while we struggled with traditional organic on our farm as we were seeking to move towards organic, Korean natural farming provided a answer that we didn't have, which was really getting that life in our soil up. We did a 14 tree trial to a 5-acre trial to a 50-acre trial, and then we ran for about 4 years a 144-acre trial. I was told that the amount of nitrogen we were planning on using was not going to work at all by people I very much respected in my industry, kind of people that had been around. The macadamia nut industry is quite young, and so people that had been around in the early days of it were telling me that this was never going to work. And 4 years later, they asked me to be on the research and development board for the International Macadamia Nut Society, and I would go and speak in China once a year at our gatherings there. It's worked for us really, really well. And I'd love to share about me and my story, because don't we all love talking about ourselves? But there's plenty of video on that and interviews I've done. And I have a website, christrump.com, and I've taught a lot of people on YouTube. That's how a lot of people have come to find out about this. And today, while expressing gratitude, and I'll share my definition of regenerative agriculture, I would like to share with you the gift of getting to meet some of these farmers that are using it and hearing about some of their struggles and the things that are working for them. That's my talk today. Some interviews with some close friends and people using natural farming right now for large-scale ag and various applications. So first, my definition of regenerative agriculture in a sentence is partnering with nature to grow food. Beyond that, I see it as containing a very important social aspect, which is the hope that my children have medicine on the grocery store shelves, that it's all medicine, that it makes our bodies healthy. I believe that that's possible. And so I join with you, or invite you to join with me as we plot world takeover and grow really great food and medicine. It's with the next generation in mind that I look at regenerative agriculture and those that would begin the journey with us as hope for our legacy to the next generation. Because whether we like it or not, we have an agricultural legacy to the next generation, and it affects a lot of things. So without further ado, on to other people talking, and wonderful people that I would love to share this opportunity, this stage with, this conversation. First farmer up is a good friend of mine, Pablo. And Pablo is using regenerative agriculture and turf management. He manages the most played golf course in San Francisco County on the lowest budget of any golf course in San Francisco County. Here's Pablo.
Good morning. We're hanging out in San Rafael at a beautiful golf course, managed the grounds and all the grass is managed by Pablo here. And Pablo, 3 years natural farming now?
3 years, yeah. Well, going into 4 years now, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so their runoff, the water that leaches into the waterways and area around here, isn't filled with a bunch of chemicals.
No, none, zero. Zero. I don't put any pesticides, fungicides, or herbicides at all. So so we are completely clean at that.
So the coastline, the oceans, and everything around affected by this golf course aren't affected in a negative way. They're affected in a positive way with a grassland treated with full of living soil and abundant life. So we're gonna cruise around and talk about what you're doing and look at these beautiful greens. Beautiful day, beautiful golf course. Lots of activity. It's a Monday morning and every hole's got players. That's beautiful. This whole place is. Yeah.
So it's the same as the other one. So it just see some of the roots in there. I don't know. You can see that. See?
Yeah. There's roots here. Keep it right there. Yeah, the roots coming out of the tip, and that's a good 6 inches.
I mean, and
8.
And typically, it's people usually in greens, have these kind of roots,
That's
because
cool.
it's just a straight sand. Usually only 1.5 inches of roots, and that's it.
Yeah.
So and winter to have these roots is amazing,
Yeah.
I mean,
Here in San Rafael. And you said just reclaimed water is what you have access to.
This is reclaimed water. That's all it is. So I don't have access to fresh water at all.
Yeah.
So.
That's amazing.
I mean,
Nicely done.
Look at the roots. I mean, right there. Oh, look at that. There is one. Oh, look at that. That's nice and white.
Yeah.
That's how you want it.
Yeah,
so,
no brown.
You just.
And that's 6 inches, 8 inches down.
Look at that.
So you're working on your inputs as part of your kind of protocol. You're making FAA. You're just showing me your IMO2.
I'm making everything. I also. I have some lactobacteria in the refrigerator.
Okay.
Right there, so,
Yeah.
And that's what I use today. Today I start the brew process. Process. You can take a look at it.
Yum. So this is your grass food.
Yeah. This is the inputs. As a matter of fact, I still have yours for your liquid IMO right here. So I follow that recipe. So
That's the one.
that's the one, natural farming. And I also one of the today I use my IMO 4.
Awesome.
In the box over here, that's already ready
This
to
is
go.
a nice box. Well done.
Yeah. That's a perfect box. So,
Yeah.
and this is the other one that is cooking right now. It's going through the fermentation process right now. So it will take until it dries out the moisture.
Yeah, that smells amazing.
The smell is
You're doing wonderful.
yeah.
So we just walked through this beautiful lab where all the fertilizer for the greens are being made, and Pablo and his team are doing an incredible job. But tell me about your fertilizer. So you're making a fish amino acid, which is just the full spectrum of the nutrients from fish. Where are you getting your fish from?
I get the fish heads from the restaurant, and they're free. So they just, when they get the fish, then I just get the heads, and I just use the heads. I mean, we can show them the bucket. If you
Yeah,
want
yeah.
to. Come.
So yeah, let's show it. So the restaurant on the golf course, the waste product, which is fish, is fermented to a high quality fertilizer, and then this is used to feed their grass. So he's strained it off. This is the leftover heads. There'll be a little bit more liquid that comes out of there a little later, and he'll strain off a little more. But that is your highest quality nitrogen, and this is coming out of the waste product from the restaurant. This golf course is taking closed loop system for a golf course. I mean, how far different is that from the conventional model? It's pretty amazing.
It is pretty amazing. So, but this is, I had another bucket already doing the fermentation. It will take another 3-4 months. That should be ready.
And
so,
you just get that ahead of you, so you always have a little bit of.
I always had, sun and storage. So,
Yeah.
when I finish with the one I show you, then it's inside. That's about at least almost, I would say, almost 2 gallons, in there.
Yeah.
So then I have a fish fertilizer.
Yeah, we
there
were
ready
just
to
in
go.
his storage facility where he keeps all his finished nutrients, and that's a nice, clear, beautiful fish amino acid. It smells sweet like food. It's basically just a food quality patisse.
Yeah.
Fish sauce that but it's perfect plant food. This team's doing amazing things.
And we also get the eggshells to make the calcium.
A water soluble calcium for your farm.
From the restaurant, we get the eggshells there too. So and that's how we come out with that stuff. So we don't have to buy anything like that. So that
Very
helps.
cool. That helps a lot.
Definitely.
Hey Pablo, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Hey Chris, thank you for having me. Thank you.
Yeah, I know you had you were on the greens today. It was a work day, so I appreciate you coming after working hard. So appreciate it. It's
Thank
I
you.
know what it is to have the long farm day and then have to turn your brain on. Um, so we just watched a little bit about what you do on your farm and on your greens there, and I loved being at your spot, right there on the edge of the greens where it butts up against an estuary, and I can only imagine, like, what if we did some sampling of how that waterway, those marshlands have changed since you changed your practices, since you switched those greens over and that golf course over. I bet it's only improved and made those lands healthier. So I've always been curious about that, but we'll have to find the scientist that checks on those if there is one. um,
That's right.
Pablo, yeah, it's been a couple of years. Have you changed a whole lot? Is it still working for you? What's new on the golf course there?
You know what? Everything is still the same, and it definitely is working for me.
That's good.
So, as a matter of fact, this past year, I only have one small little disease on the greens, but rather than that, compared to other golf courses, it was nothing, and it went away within a few days. So it's great and it's working. It's working.
Cool.
So I haven't put any fungicide down at all.
Wonderful.
Well, and so far it's working. So it's working for us. So which is great.
Well, I suspect that there's going to be more and more people following you through the door because, and that's my hope, and why we're having this conversation is you are a farmer, a greens manager that um, manages the most played golf course in the San Francisco County, and your um, golf course feeds into the ocean. And there's golf courses all across California, all over the world that are in the most beautiful, pristine, ecological environments, and they're using endless fungicides. And to switch and to follow this natural farming methodology and your example, could be a real way to help the entirety of the world be regenerative around golf. And maybe we can we can give them an award or something if they do what you did. It can be
Yeah,
the Pablo
exactly.
Award.
Paula, or yeah, exactly. Yeah, but like I say, a little bit of my history before I started learning about organics. I did a synthetic fungicides for 22 years. So
Mm,
I've been in the other side too. So,
mm,
and being in this side is definitely different, and I like it more, a lot more than the other side. I feel a lot better doing this than the other stuff because I know what the other stuff implies and what the other stuff can impact the environment and all
mm.
that. So, definitely, I feel a lot better doing this.
Well, I'm happy you're doing it. We're all happy you're doing it, and
Thank you.
keep
Yeah.
doing it. And we'll yeah, we'll try and keep the fan mail to a minimum here after this. Well, I appreciate you, Pablo. Thanks for coming on, and we're going to talk more in the future. But I just I want to say from bottom of my heart, and I think I speak for some of the people watching this, that thanks for doing what you do. It's good. It's good stuff.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
So great to hear about what's going on there. Isn't that amazing to think that our shores and estuaries and all these beautiful places where there is golf courses could be improving. The ecological state could be on the rise. It's exciting to me. Next up is a great farmer and farming family, Leslie Kakamis and her husband Doug Hill, Hill Family Estates. They contract farm a total of 750 acres. Their operation is uniquely challenging as it's spread all over Yountville, Napa Valley area. And so they have multiple small sites. And we began work a couple years ago on trials for natural farming for the wine grapes there in Yountville and Napa Valley. Here's Leslie.
Hey, Leslie.
Hey, Chris.
Thanks for meeting with me and having this conversation. So, you and your husband Doug are wine farmers.
Yeah.
In
I like that.
Yountville,
Yeah.
California. And how long have you guys been doing that? What's the name of your company?
So we have a farming business called Oak Knoll Farming.
Okay.
And we have a wine business called Hill Family Estate, and we grow grapes for ourselves. But as Oak Knoll Farming, we're contract farmers. So not only are we taking care of our 10 vineyard sites, we're taking care of another 60 sites that are owned and operated by other people and who entrust to us the care of their vineyards for the purpose of growing premium wine grapes.
Amazing. How many acres does that all represent total?
Around 700
All right.
in like 70 different locations.
It sounds like a few moving parts.
Ooh, it's operationally and logistically challenging.
All right. I can only imagine. I'm like thinking about the crew, and
Oh,
we
gosh.
have one location. Most everything is,
Yeah,
straightforward, base yard, moving out with
Totally.
our farm.
we have like 40 tractors, around 200 implements. We run 4 labor crews. We've got about 3 equipment haulers who are moving nonstop, 6 or 7 irrigators. So it's an industrial farming application. I mean, it's beautiful and romantic, and we're here in the Napa Valley, and it's like amazing, right? But it's on a scale.
Full on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And you decided in the midst of that you wanted to add some experiment and variables, huh?
I did. Well, I don't come from a farming background. So for me, it's like the world was my oyster to learn and experiment. And when I came into this industry via Doug, right? So you show up as the spouse, right? I was like, I've got to get some credibility here pretty fast, right? So I went to a lot of community college classes, conferences, seminars, UC Davis seminars, and so much of what we do in grape farming is about the prevention of powdery mildew, botrytis, and other kind of fungal pathogens that will decimate your grape crop. And if you do not do something, you will get these pests in your vineyard. Yeah, you'll pretty much lose your crop, or it'll be unmarketable, or you'll lose a large proportion of it. And given that it's so expensive to farm here and it's such a high value crop, you don't want to have that happening. And what I found was that the majority of these seminars were based on pests and diseases. A lot of the ones that were based on diseases were based on how to, spray in order to prevent these diseases, but nothing eradicated them or their risk entirely. So, as a company, as a manager coming in now and looking at our business operation, I was like, we're spending an inordinate amount of time, resources, money. I mean, those equipment movers are bringing sprayers around a lot of times. Our, chemical bill can be over $500,000 a year. And we're not getting 100% efficacy on these products that we're applying. So is there another option? Is there a different way of doing things? And that's kind of what brought me over to the natural farming world.
Sweet.
Yeah.
That seems a reasonable progression, and one I think I went down the same line of thinking for. But so, I mean, in natural farming, we look at fungal pathogens as kind of the low-hanging fruit as potential cost savings for a farmer, and you ran a trial. You ran an 1.5 acres. That was kind of, you came to training, you were like, I'm gonna go back and do this in our farm. I need another job,
right.
managing,
I have enough to do
the crews,
right?
And so you ran an 1.5 acres.
Not contiguous, but I did 1 acre in Yountville, and I did another acre actually in Coombsville, Appalachian, in Napa.
Did you get powdery mildew?
Actually, so the first year I did.
Okay.
But here's the deal. So that was over at the winery we had purchased in Yountville, and we knew we had a viral disease that prevents the fruit from ripening optimally, and we didn't know that it was going to be marketable. So we said, well, this is a great place to do this experiment, right? So the first year we did that.
The worst way in the block.
What are we going to lose, right? So that first year, it was so much fun, actually. We'd be out there every Friday night, Doug and I, spraying, and that canopy was just gorgeous. I mean, it was a good thing in that we had some late May rains, which we normally don't get. So I think when we had bud burst, there was really good growth, like right out the gate. But at the same time, I'm applying all of this liquid IMO, I'm applying all of this, FPJ, and the leaves were the glossiest, greenest leaves we'd ever seen in our entire lives. We had a great bloom, we had a great set. And then right around June, when I started to see the powdery mildew index start to creep up, which is kind of
that's the environmental factor.
Yeah, data point on dew point, temperature, growing degree days. I forget what else goes into that. Sure. We started to see a little bit of powdery mildew show up, but I first saw it actually mid canopy. Which, I guess if you're a really astute scout, sometimes you'll find powdery mildew like mid-canopy, but for the most part, you first see it as like this little tiny bloom on the little peduncle where the berry connects to the rachis, the bunch, right? Okay. That's where you kind of see this little spotting start. And I wasn't seeing it on the fruit, but I was seeing it mid-canopy. And that is ultimately what led us to call our trial a success, because I hadn't been using our professional grade equipment to spray the vineyard. I'd just been using a little Tractor Supply
Oh, so you weren't hitting mid canopy.
I was getting like fruit zone and like maybe, we talk about the trellis wires. I was maybe getting up to that first wire, maybe to the second wire, but it wasn't getting up above that. And then also because we weren't, farming this thinking that these were going to be marketable grapes, we weren't doing our cultural controls on the schedule we would have preferred to. So, in the grape industry, we come in, we remove leaves and laterals to try to prevent there from being an abundance of green growth in the fruit zone, right? Because you're creating that environment that's going to allow that pathogen to thrive.
Pruning for perfection.
Totally, right? So getting good air and sunlight around the fruit. So I think because of that, even though we did have mildew, we still felt like, if we'd gotten in here on time because we'd been managing our canopy professionally, if we had a sprayer, an air blast that was going to really help to kind of
get everything.
Yeah, coverage. Just get really good coverage.
Sure.
I mean, everything in spray is about coverage, right? Well, then maybe this would have worked, right?
Yeah.
So the following year,
you did have marketable fruit in the end.
we used it ourselves.
Yeah.
My wine experiments, I'm not a winemaker. Let's just put it that way. Just because you grow grapes doesn't mean you can make wine.
You got to play with good
But I got to play with good grapes. And the vineyard itself, despite the diseases, despite the soil compaction, performed well enough that we were going to leave it in. Except for the fact that the entire neighborhood decided to replant. And then you don't want to be the one who's the sink for disease, right? So we kind of felt pressured to remove it. So we did. But we were excited. This to us was like a great success.
A good data point to be like, oh, maybe
let's try this elsewhere.
Yeah.
Then this past year we did our 1 acre actually at a client's vineyard, and her vineyard has had every viticultural expert on the West Coast and her property. It was planted about 5 years ago, and it just started going down to all of these diseases, potentially metal toxicities that nobody can totally diagnose. So we don't know what's going on, but this was her
undiagnosable.
I mean, I know that there's
so you
black root fungus, there's agrobacterium. I mean, I've seen the results that show that there are all these problems.
And all the experts have come through and shaken their stick at it, and nothing's working.
Right. So I actually came in and said, hey, instead of just giving you an opinion, let me try to do something. And she was like, okay, do your kombucha voodoo on my block and let's see what happens. Natural farming. So we did do a solid IMO application. It's one of these high-end super narrow vineyards, so I actually had to spread it by hand over an acre.
That's
so
dedication.
I'd drive through on my little moto with my little trailer, and then I'd get out and I'd toss it around, and then I'd drive a little further. It was a process, but we got a good solid on, but there never got any rain. So I'll be curious to see what my data points are like from my soil analysis this year, now that the IMO has actually had a chance to kind of get a little reined in. And then I decided for the liquid IMO to follow what I would do as an organic protocol. So a lot of the organic fungicides we use in grape farming are biologicals, right? They're different bacteria and fungi that are being sprayed on. And I said, okay, well, theoretically, I'm doing the same thing. So for organics, we do that on a 10-day interval between bud break and maybe a week past veraison. So her vineyard was sprayed, I think 12 times. So I had a brewer going pretty, nonstop, but I was able to get, some good fish aminos, fish FAA on there. Was able to switch between my, my FPJ and my FFJ. We saw kind of enough of the season there. And in the end, our metric was, well, the vineyard, this block did not continue to decline.
Some of the others surrounding that didn't get the natural.
Yeah, the neighboring block struggled a little bit more. I do this aerial, heat imaging, and I was able to see what we call the black zone of death, where you're not getting any kind of record of transpiration. It expanded in the neighboring block, but it stayed stable in our block.
So everything in this vineyard was kind of on decline. Your natural farming block didn't recover from all its diseases its first year of treatment, but while everything else dipped further, this maintained.
Right. And what was great is that the fruit was marketable, and the winemakers give us feedback, and nobody had any, I think one of our concerns is, winemaking.
Are we changing something?
Are we changing something? Winemaking is so susceptible to whatever pathogens come in on the fruit. That's part of why we're so careful about what we spray. Lactobacillus is the enemy of winemakers. And one of my little natural wine experiments, I had lactobacillus kind of start to go wild in my, fermentation, which creates of a little acidity, which is very unpleasant in wine. Anyhow, so I had concerns that these things I was spraying were going to make the wine less, palatable, for lack of a better word, to winemakers, but there was no adverse, negative, data set that came in from that fruit compared to the other.
Some pretty good results so far, but also you're starting.
Yeah. Well, and what I love hearing is, having been part of the natural farming community, is people say, oh, I did all this stuff in the first year, and then I did all this stuff in the second year, and then by the third year I said, well, let me just back off and do this, and then by the fourth year, let me just do this. And that as you start to transform, the actual environment of your vineyard, of your location, that the need to be, prophylactically doing stuff to feel like you're contributing to the health of your plants and of your soil, you can kind of back off when you've made that transition. So that's what gives me faith that it will ultimately be more sustainable on a large scale.
Yeah, establishing diverse microbial communities is not
an overnight. No.
So I'm really excited for this. The disease that nobody could fix, or vineyard that you're working on. And so now you have 1 year with some data. You begin year 2, and you'll basically duplicate the same treatment. That's
what I'm thinking for this year, to keep up with the sprays. If I see another rain coming in the forecast, maybe I'll do another solid application. Let it kind of settle there. We're just pruning now, so then we can kind of chop up all that wood and kind of leave it in place. But otherwise, I think I'll continue with the spray protocol and see how it goes.
I'm excited to hear, and now I think you have a whole handful of people that are be excited to watch your journey in implementing natural farming in Napa Valley wine grapes, and for the prevention of some of these germ diseases we're dealing with.
Thank you for your excellent tutelage in this process. It's exciting.
It's a blast.
Yeah.
And I'm hopeful we're taking over the world, an industry at a time.
I love it.
All right, so Leslie, can people follow you on Instagram? Is that okay?
Yeah. I should probably get a better handle, but right now my handle is Mrs. Castorini, and you can find our wine brand at Hill Family Estate. And if you want to email me, it's leslie@oakknollfarming.com, and I'm happy to share ideas, talk to anybody about this stuff, because it's just been a huge part of my learning. The community has been, you don't go to school to learn this stuff, right? The community is how you learn and figure out what's working for people. And
the natural farming community is pretty cool and helpful.
They've been great. Especially when you're like, oh God, I got to stir this OHN one more day. It's like you have the people that are rooting for you to get it done, and it feels great.
And we'll talk more maybe next year.
Love it.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
Lots more to come from Yountville, Napa Valley area, and what they're doing down there. I can't wait to see the way that they develop this for wine grape growing. Last but definitely not least is a dairyman from Limerick, Ireland, Thomas Stack. Thomas came out to a class I did in Connecticut a couple years ago and has been crushing it as a dairyman using regenerative agriculture. Without further ado, Mr. Tom Stack.
Okay.
Hey Tom, thanks for being here with me.
Hi Chris, how are you?
Yeah, it's a beautiful day. I'm here in Colorado, and where are you?
I'm here in a place called Ballygran, a village in Limerick, in the Republic of Ireland. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Southern Ireland. And it's nighttime.
Thanks for being with us. I know it's calving season for you, and this will be, I'm really excited to talk about what you're up to and share your story. I think
okay.
We've talked, and both of us have an inkling that maybe this is an answer for the dairy industry, some of the things you've discovered. But
absolutely.
How did you get into farming? Your family was in farming, right?
Yes. My dad was a dairy farmer, and I took over the farm in 2012. But I did my ag year certification in '97, and it didn't sit with me that year of training to be a dairy farmer or a farmer. But basically I took some time off, and I came back to maybe in 2010, and I took over my dairy farm, my dad's farm, in 2012, and I worked with him for maybe 3 years. And it was a real case of pushing, production, expanding, going from 50 cows to 60 cows to 70 cows. My dad always said to me, he said, what's yours is yours, but you should look after what you have. You don't have to go this way or that way. But of course I was young, kind of young and stupid, and I just wanted to, keep up with the Joneses, I suppose would be the word. But as I was doing this, I could see that, I could see really what I was doing to the environment in a way. And financially, costs were going up, but our income was staying the same. In a way, it was like moving the goalposts. So your costs will go up, but your income will go up, but it stayed the same, Yeah, so I was farming conventionally, and conventional dairy, and I just said to myself, there must be another way. Actually, as a family, we were eating organic, so everything we were buying in was organic. I wasn't drinking my own milk, and I knew really what I was doing, but I suppose it hit home one night. I just woke up and said, I must change this, and I just looked around to see what could I do. And I rang some people, and I said, I just change, actually walk it all off the cliff, really. I went to a bio farm in Ireland in 18, and that just blew me away, really.
So tell me about that. You went to a farm that was farming a different way than you were farming.
Yeah, so basically I did some research on organic, and I did some, farm visits on organic farms and how they were doing it. But what they were doing was a rotational system. Mm-hmm. And in a rotational system, you're still spending money, plus you're tearing up the soil. I didn't really agree with it. So then I just went to a biofarm conference, and basically that changed my whole outlook. As my wife said to me, she said, be aware, Tom, you might learn something today or the next 2 days, and that might change your life, which it did, Chris. I got to learn, I think one of the speakers was a guy called Dan Kettridge, and another lad was a dairy farmer from Leash, John McHugh.
I just spoke with Dan Kittredge in Boston, and he's wonderful. He's good people. Yeah, he's doing good things.
Yeah, absolutely. And and he just left me with things that I suppose I was absolutely devastated when I found out. What we're doing to the soil, and the cost and what was happening, and he just said two things to me. He said you could start improving your soil with seawater, and his method, and he said there's a whole different ball game called pre-natural farming, and that's all I left with. And I suppose here I am, and just went down a wormhole after that. Everything is healthier and cleaner now. Everything is the journey from the biofarm conference and to knowing the knowledge to where I got to you was I just basically did the basic preps, kind of winged it a small bit. And then we could see a reaction. Nikki, my wife, and we could see this is something, this is working. So I had to go and teach, I had to be taught. I had to do one of your classes. I had to go and, taste the rice and smell the brews. And, that's the kind of a guy I am. I knew this was the only way that I could be self-sufficient inside my own gate, really. And basically now, from the time I did the class and to now, it's crazy. And crazy in a way of that, I can see how nature works, and I can see the power of nature that you teach us in class. So basically I look and I can see, I used to use homeopathy. I don't no more, because the cycle is clean. So everything is clean going into my cow. At the moment I'm getting, there's
Real
Yeah,
quick, let me back up with this. So
yeah, sorry.
your transition was that your land was no longer, you weren't going to be able to support this 70 cow. You had pushed
No,
up to max production. You said as you were
said,
younger, you were
yeah,
trying to
yeah,
increase total head on your land, and you were
yes,
fertilizing a ton to try and keep up with that and paying a big
yes,
vet bill. And then
yes,
you're seeing I can't support that amount of cows, and you're going to grass fed.
yes,
You told me about your feed cost change, and you paid off your feed debt in that first
yeah.
year, and you've never bought feed again.
No, because what I've witnessed is that I don't need it because I'm producing a more nutritious grass, and
I mean, what does
people
that
look
look
at you.
like?
It's not the look of it, Chris. The grass is amazing. It's the cow. You should see my cows when they leave the parlor. They go down to the grass. They eat the grass for 15 to 20 minutes, and they all lie down. It's like a one big happy family. And the only way you cannot, I suppose, you have to seeing is believing. I suppose that is the
What
word.
did it used to look like when the cows went out to the pasture?
So basically, Chris, because I would call it the poison, what the feed in the parlor, right? So the grass, so what they do is they'd leave the parlor and they go into the paddock and they'd walk and then nibble, walk, nibble, walk, nibble. And then maybe 2 hours before milking, they'll all stand at the gate roaring to get up to the parlor, for more food. So basically it was telling me the grass isn't sufficient enough or not nutritious. I suppose it's like going to a supermarket, you know what I mean? That you're not getting all your energy from what should be, what should be. Then I was seeing my minerals cost, I was giving them added minerals and my feed, and that's all gone now.
So now they go out, they eat. You said they eat for 15 minutes and sit down, and then you don't
that's it.
supplement feed. They're not baying at the
No,
gate at the end. They're nutrient
no,
satisfied.
absolutely. And it's, people look at you, Mag, but you just have to see it. I've witnessed as well, with my fermentation of my silage or my grass, we wrap the bales for the winter.
Mhm.
The smell, Chris, is crazy. It's amazing. I did a bricks. Actually, I had a guy down at the farm last week. He's changing as well, and he came and he visited, and he brought that brixometer. The thing you squeeze,
Uh-huh.
and the bricks of my silage was 15.5. And I don't know what that means.
That's good.
Like
Good.
yeah. So basically, he was saying the silage that he was testing around him were 4 and 6, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
And look, I'm not a scientist. I'm a dairy farmer. I'm a farmer, but basically, I've learned that natural farming is so efficient for everyone. Yes, you take in the transition, of course, because I went from conventional to the organic.
No,
and
it's
even
super challenging. It's the biggest hurdle, I think, for a farmer.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it was a little bit. I mean, those are real risks.
Stressful.
You're stopping your vet bill. What about your vet bill now? What kind of vet visits you got? Yeah, tell me.
So on the peak of before that was 4.5 to 5 grand euros.
Your vet bill.
1,100. Yes, it's 1,100 euro now.
Wow.
Yes.
And so you see a lot of sick cows?
I don't. They were basically with the homeopathy. It helped me. When I transitioned to organic, I stopped using antibiotics because I knew, like in humans, they have to build their own immune system, Chris. And I just said, I'm going to use homeopathy. Yes, you got some dry cow's mastitis the first year in 18. Mm-hmm. But basically, their immune system have built up now. So the first lot of heifers off them cows that got through, they calved down, and I had to cull them, right? The first lot of heifers that came off them cows are calving down this year, and they are bulletproof.
Wow.
So this is the proof. No, there's a lot more things to be done here, as you'll see in the summertime when you come, like, with no smell, but what's going on at the moment is the cost of steel and structural steel has gone up. Yeah. But that's a small thing. But the plan is there; it's put in place, and we'll get there eventually.
Yeah, we've been talking. You're referring to the design of a living soil floor parlor
Yes,
or resting room, and you've been
yes,
building, and we're
yeah,
modeling after a living soil like a floor like a piggery they do in green natural farming. So you'll pretty much be one of the first dairymen doing something like that, and you've gotten a bit of interest in Ireland, a bit of people looking over your shoulder in what you're up to. I saw a couple magazines with your name in them. What's going on over
yes.
there?
Um, people are, I suppose, waking up in the way of that. They see the bottom line, and they see what you're doing, and it basically, I, all I give them they come to my face, and there's no point, as you know, there's no point explaining on the phone. They just come, and I just go, look, you know, I can show you what I do. I can basically show you. I can kind of start you off. I just want to see you doing this if you want to do it, and it's all about interest really. But it's picked up in the last year because of the prices of chemical fertilizer, and everything has gone up double. Like,
You're making
and
more
and
money
and
than
yet,
that.
probably next year, yeah. But
Okay, all right,
yeah,
all right.
yeah. But it's I love the open-minded, people that, I suppose I would say connected in the way of to nature and stuff like that. So yeah, I help out as much as I can. I give them the best advice that I can. But just to get them to the power of nature, I suppose, what's there in our front yard that we can use for the rest of it, really.
So you would encourage dairymen that's trying to figure out another way. You'd encourage them to go this direction.
I definitely would. I definitely would because of costs. I'd rather have 50 cows and be sufficient and profitable, and then have 200 cows, and that's the way Ireland has gone. It's gone crazy, like. But everyone to their own. I can't change anyone. All they do is come and look at my grass, and they go, right. You know.
They look
The
at your
last
grass
guy
and
did.
they say, "Sign me up."
Yeah, basically, and then all they say is, when is Chris coming? I said, it's funny to where I was maybe three and a half, 4 years ago. It's crazy. A lot more
Are
to
you
do,
more
Chris.
hopeful?
Absolutely, absolutely in everything, really. I just think, the more that you keep inside your own door, the better. And yes, there's different ways. Like, I could sell my raw milk, and I'm really want to get to, that taste of, nutritional milk, like, because the taste is crazy. It's like, say, I suppose the winery maybe, or, the taste,
Yeah,
it's
I
a
can't wait
different
to
taste.
taste your milk. So if people are trying to follow your journey, I know you're a little bit on Instagram, and I think you got your hoodie on. I got one of those. Thank you
Yeah,
for that.
yeah,
Let us see the badge on your chest. What is this? All right, knfdairy.com. And
yeah.
you're KNF Dairy on Instagram?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Cool.
I'm not really good at it.
I know.
But
It's
yeah,
that, but you know what? People are going to be wanting to watch what you're doing, and
yeah,
I really, that's kind of the point of this conversation is, we can talk about the science of agriculture changing. We can talk about the science of soil, and we can go deep there, and we can spend a lot of time learning a lot of things. But
yeah,
the point, and especially for me, and I think that's the role I want to play, is liaising between farmer and high science, and
absolutely,
and
Chris. Yeah,
and you're instituting or putting into practice that is directly affecting your bottom line, these concepts and these natural laws that we know. So the fungal bacterial ratio of your grassland change, the diversity of the microbes, because you're spraying a liquid IMO, that's your regimen, right?
yes,
Yeah. So you have a nutrient cycling in your pasture that you didn't have before, and your cows are getting nutrient satisfied. You said your fat content's up and production hasn't slipped.
Yes.
Yeah.
My production, they're averaging about 1350 to 1400 liters per cow per year. So that's about just maybe 1100 gallons. So it's back, but it's still costing, basically before conventional, when I was conventional, maybe it was around 2-1, because then you have to put into your cost of fertilizer and your cost of feed, and they were getting ration, to make that produce
You're
more.
pushing a lot of food into them with your feed.
Absolutely. So at the end of the day, if that comes all back, everything you make is your own pocket, really, and
so
and
you're changing multiple lines in the equation. Your cow count's coming down. Your production's a little bit down. You're not pushing your cows as hard, but you're not paying a vet bill because you're not pushing your cows as hard and they're healthier. And you're not paying the feed costs or the mineral costs because they're already getting that. And in the end, you're happier with what your product is. And hi, buddy girl. You're all right, Tom. It's no problem. Yeah, no, they're a part of it. Well,
they are actually, they've been through the whole lot of it. This is Izzy. Sorry.
No, hi, Izzy. Welcome.
Izzy, stop, please. Right, okay, get out of it. Sorry, Chris. The next step, though, I suppose, Chris, for me is, really the no smell. I think that's the key for Ireland in a way. So
we got more work to do.
Absolutely. And I'd say if you come this year, yes, you'll have a look and see what you think, and I probably get advice from you. But I think I'm going to leave it as it is. If I definitely have to put a roof on it, because I've seen that, it's just a heap, But last year was good. This year is okay. But no, it's very, very positive, and people are really, really interested in what we do. They can't, when you tell them about the microbe, and the power of it, really, and they see it then, and that's the key. What you show them, and when they walk your land, that's the key, really.
Tom, address your the couple hundred dairymen that are going to be watching this eventually, and tell them. I mean, talk to yourself in 2016. Talk to yourself in 2017, and tell them what to do. Tell them what you think now that you're on the other side of this.
Everything happens. It's just you have to follow your gut in a way. I think it's everyone is skeptical. You have to be skeptical because we are farmers at the end of the day. And basically we know there is something else. Like everyone know. You just have to trust yourself, because this is you're putting, I suppose, you're putting a lot of your energy into something that I believe that once you're helping nature will help you 10 times over. But it's to get that mentality, and just it's very positive. Like, just to walk my land now is just it's peace, I suppose, because it's doing what it should do, and with no cost, and that's the key. And healthy animals are wonderful,
shiny coats. Shiny coats and happy cows.
Oh, shiny coats, happy cows, and they're way more relaxed. It's I've come a long way, but there's a lot more to do, I think.
Well, we'll check in with you hopefully again in the next couple of years and get an update then.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'll see you
for anyone that's thinking about this, I just don't stop, just do it. And there is a period of 2 years, but you look at what you have and you go from there, really. Because there's no silver bullets out there,
It's true. This isn't a silver
Yeah.
bullet. This is a process, and you put in a lot of hard work.
Yes, absolutely. And it gets easier. And the smiles come back.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
I so appreciate you taking your time. I know you're busy, and your kids would love to have you. So yeah, we're gonna keep up this conversation. And I know me and you talk all the time, but I think it's gonna be important going forward to tell the story to those that would consider a different way of farming. And
Yeah.
I appreciate you partnering with you to plot world takeover, basically. It's
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
good place to be.
For the people that are on the fence, there's always people, there's people there that can help them as well. And that's what we're here for. That's what I'm here for, really. That's it, looking forward, back then in 18, I'll leave with this, Chris. I had no outlook, I had no future I was, my heart wasn't in it, and basically for a generation, like there's a saying in Ireland, the first generation works it and the second generation probably sells it,
Yeah.
And that's so true here. But in a way,
That's all over the world. The
yeah,
connection to the land's been lost. So you're saying
yeah.
you feel it. You feel like that restored, and that's amazing.
Oh yeah, because as you said, the connection, it's amazing, because you're doing what nature does slowly, really well, a small bit quicker. But yeah, it's powerful. It's powerful, and your animals are flawless, really, in a way. But yeah, power to natural farming.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you, and we'll
thank
say
you,
goodbye
Chris.
to the
Yeah.
soil conference now, and we'll pick back up next time they invite us on here to get an update, huh?
No problem.
We got a lot to do in the next couple of years.
We do, lads. We do.
All
Help
right,
other
Tom.
people.
Appreciate you.
Chris. Yeah.
So cool. I have the privilege of going out and teaching that community there. He wants backup, and I'll be out there in June. Tom wanted you to know that he has offset $37,000 of inputs, fertilizer, mineral, what else did he say? Reseeding and feed costs. $37,000 for a small operation there, or not so small. And it's been a big deal for his family. So more to come from Tom, I'm sure, and really some hope for the dairy industry in the US. Well, that concludes my time here with you today. It's been a ton of fun sharing some of the stories of these farmers and the struggles, and I look forward to giving you updates in the future. I'm very open to collaborating, and I'm excited about the research we'll be able to do in the coming years as we seek to understand better how to partner with nature to grow food. My name's Chris Trump. You can find me at Soil Steward on Instagram, and yeah, keep making the world a better place. Take care. Aloha.